I'm noticing a lot of people are getting AI anxiety at the moment. They're not sure how to get started with AI. They're hearing about all these crazy automations, but they're not sure what to even automate in the first place. Well, I'm going to show you how you can automate any task in 10 minutes using this step-by-step framework. Step 1, how do you actually figure out what to automate? Step 2, once you've figured that out, how do you go about working out the solution? And step 3, once you have the solution, what are the best tools and how do you use these tools to get results? And bonus, at the end of the video, I'll be giving you the template that I use to track my own automation. So if you enjoy content like this, where I help you get the edge in AI, make sure you subscribe to this channel, AI Edge. And I'm your host, Miles Deutscher. I've been using AI since ChatGPT came out. And over the past year, I've gone AI crazy, creating workflows for all sorts of stuff. But this is the video that I wish I had in the beginning when I was first coming up with my workflows. So the first thing that you need to do before you decide what to automate is firstly list out everything that you do on a daily basis. So take some time, critically think about what you do day to day, and write all of these tasks down. It doesn't matter if you don't think they can be automated or not. The whole point of this exercise is to jot them down. Also, write down what you do on a weekly basis. For example, every day you might do market research, but on a weekly basis, you might collate a weekly report. And on a monthly basis, you might do your accounting, for example. These are still repetitive tasks which take up mental load at some point during the month. So go daily, weekly, and monthly. Pro tip, if you do want some help doing this, just explain to ChatGPT or Claude or your model of choice through the voice prompting that you want to write down everything that you do on a daily or weekly basis in order to automate some of these tasks and help it ask you questions to prompt the correct responses from you, because there may be some things that you forget about that you will remember if you voice prompt. So that is step 1. Write it all down. As you can see in front of you, you can actually create a spreadsheet like this where you can categorize each thing that you do. You can write down what the task is. You can write down the cadence, so if it's weekly or daily, and you can write down the time that it takes you. Then you want to either put this into AI or just critically think yourself, could this realistically be automated? Is it repeatable? If it's not repeatable, is it something that AI could augment? Because the reality is you might look at this list and be like, no, I can't automate that. But that task could be 50% automated. For example, I put out content. I don't want AI to write all of my tweets. I think I do a better job at curating them, but it can help me do everything else. That research grunt work, scraping, looking at what else went viral, and then I can step in and give it that final 20% of source, which makes it my own. It's the same thing for a lot of your tasks as well. You might need to do the final audit. You might need to upload the final document, but AI can do 50 to 80% of the work. So even if it's not fully automatable, still try and recognize which parts of it could potentially be automatable. So once you've got this list, it doesn't have to be in a spreadsheet. It could just be written down in notes. By the way, all the spreadsheets and prompts and everything from today's video will be available for free down below if you use the link, so you can get access to that. Moving on to step 2. Now you want to pick the highest leverage task from this list first, because what people tend to do is they tend to drown in automation. They're like, there's 20, 30 things I've got to automate. It's too much. I don't know where to start. It's like, okay, let's just make it simple. From this list that you end up creating, just pick one thing that you want to automate and just set a simple goal with yourself. Once a week, you are going to automate one task. And within 10 weeks, you're going to have automated 10 tasks. And you can keep that momentum going and automate more and more tasks until you are super efficient. And what will happen is once AI is saving you time, you'll have even more time to add more stuff to your plate, whether it be more hobbies, a business idea, extracurricular stuff that you've been putting off, you will now be able to do because AI has freed up more of your time. That is the entire point of AI. I mean, look, some of you might just be wanting to use AI so you can chill and, sit back. But for me personally, I want to use AI so I have even more time so I can leverage AI even further. And you can see how it compounds after that. So what you want to do is just pick one thing, just one thing to begin with that you want to start automating. And as I'll go into more depth in at the end of today's video, I've actually got a automation tracker here where every week you focus on one automation, week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, all the way to week 10. And over time, this weekly progress bar ticks along to give you a bit of gamification. So that will be available in the description below. Okay, once you pick the task that you want to automate, now you have to work out how to automate it. Now, this is the tough part, but the great thing is we have so many amazing LLMs. I will now give you a prompt to help you find the exact architecture for an automation, but the tools that I'll be sharing with you later in today's video, these tools may be even better. So I'm going to give you the prompt because maybe there is a specific route needed for the automation that you want to execute, but the tools I'm going to share with you can actually figure that out on your behalf and actually combine multiple different models together. So it's better than just having ChatGPT or Claude because it can actually access multiple at once. But firstly, you want to try and reverse engineer how to automate it because this will give you a good idea of the steps that are needed to execute. So I've got this prompt here. You are my automation architect. I want to automate part of my life or work, but I don't know how. Here's the task I do manually. So that's where you would enter. I'll leave the prompt below. That's where you would enter the task that you do manually, how often you do it. So daily, weekly, monthly, occasionally. And then you want to write down your manual process. So here's the exact step-by-step process I follow. So for me, it might be, research the market, bookmark top posts, come up with an angle, and then finalize and schedule. You can write all of that down because you can actually train the AI and automate the AI to go through each step individually. Just try and include much detail as possible. Once again, if you use voice prompting, it's going to be easier for you. Put the inputs you use or the tools you use in order to execute these steps manually. Put the output that you want and write the constraints. Now for the constraints, you can probably leave these as they are because I think a lot of you probably aren't technical. Even I'm not that technical. I prefer simple tools. I think most of you will want simple tools. You want the minimum viable automation and you don't want an over-engineered solution. This is what we're trying to avoid here. Everyone is getting so overwhelmed with all of these crazy open clause, Zapier into N8N, automating a webhook to, let's just make it simple. There are tools now that do all of this for you. You don't need to worry about it. You just need a simple workflow, and this prompt helps you get there. Once you enter this in with the correct details, you will then get a workflow, and then you can move on to step number 3, which is actually executing the workflow. Now, because I don't know what your exact workflows are, I've picked a couple of workflows that I would personally use, and I'm going to give the examples in today's video. But the tools that I'm going to be using in today's video are multi-step tools that are basically agents in your desktop browser that can execute a lot of the steps for you. So if ChatGPT or Claude or whatever model you use for the prior prompt over-engineers it or does make it too complex, then these are good fallback options. And in any case, these tools will be able to execute a lot of these strategies for you, unless your workflow is so complicated that it does require an extra webhook or an extra step or an extra API. Look, to be honest, if you want to fully automate some tasks, it will require an API. For example, when I was automating my finance data across multiple spreadsheets and I wanted a dashboard that could represent that data, I needed to hook up an API in order to feed that data to that dashboard. But that was a very specific niche thing. 90% of the other tasks could just be automated using the agents that I'm going to show you. So the first agent is Perplexity. Perplexity is technically an LLM and an AI tool, but they recently launched a very cool feature, and this is called Perplexity Computer. Now, the cool thing about Perplexity Computer is that it leverages multiple models. So unlike ChatGPT, where you're just accessing ChatGPT, Perplexity Computer can run multiple steps of your workflow through different models. So it might do the research on GPT, then it might put together the framework on Claude, then it might use Gemini for the research. So then you're combining the best element of every LLM. And so it's basically every LLM in one. The only downside is that it's more expensive. I'm going to show you a cheaper option after. I just want to give you the more premium option first. So an example of a workflow that I do in my daily life is researching for my YouTube channel, which you're watching now, which is AI Edge. So the goal of this automation would be to build a daily news to idea to content pack for my channel. So I don't need to go and research the news and scroll through my feed. It's going to help distill the best ideas of the day and package them into a compelling brief that I can use on my channel. So you can see the prompt here plans the workflow, breaks the task up into 3 to 5 sub-steps, and importantly, it spins up sub-agents, which is a very cool part of Perplexity Computer. It can create multiple agents that do things on your behalf in order to execute the task as needed. So let me enter it, and you'll see exactly how it works. It's better to see this than just me explaining it. So I've entered the prompt. It's basically researching for my YouTube channel, AI Edge. What happens is it opens up a list of current tasks, and you can see that it's running tasks in parallel. So unlike ChatGPT or one LLM, it's going to be running one task at a time. Because Perplexity Computer can leverage multiple models and spin up multiple sub-agents, you can run multiple tasks in parallel. So you can see here it's loading the research assistant, it's recalling past context, and soon it will move on to the next steps. Now, pro tip that I won't get into too much depth in today's video, if you click on search and then you click on spaces, you can create specific spaces or projects which you can import context on your business. So for AI Edge, I can import the link to the channel, the links to other YouTube channels that I like, and I can put in any files or context that I want. So then when I run these workflows, it can pull that data. But for the example of this video, I'm just using one of the standard chats, but I thought I would mention that. So it says here that it's got the context from my previous sessions, and now it's setting up the workflow to execute. Now, this is the cool part. You can see it's choosing Gemini 3.1 Pro for its model of choice for research across AI and enterprise, the creator economy, and product launches. These are 3 agents operating at once. You can see now it's synthesizing the data with Opus 4.6. So it's done the preliminary research with Gemini, and now it's synthesizing Opus 4.6. You can actually manually tell it which models you want to use, but Perplexity's smart. It knows the strengths of each model. It knows which models are most efficient for specific tasks. So it's going to automatically select the best models to use for each thing. This is amazing because this entire process, if you were doing it manually, even if you had a Claude and a Gemini subscription, you would still have to manually do a prompt, copy it over, manually do another prompt, copy it over, then copy all of that information over to Opus and get it to, whereas this workflow does it all on your behalf. It's a Perplexity computer. It's just like the workflows that you may have seen people doing on OpenClaw or previously called Claude on their Mac minis, except this is in a much more controllable, safe environment in your desktop. And what you can also do is you can set these tasks to occur on a regular basis. So if you have a repeatable task that you do every day, for example, I might want to research AI and come up with content ideas every day, I could set it doing it automatically every day so I can wake up to a brand new brief. And you can see here, it's just sent the full brief talking about 5 top things in AI. These were actually very cool. Notion custom agents. I was personally checking them out today. Curses AI coding agents, also very cool. Anthropic embedding Claude into Excel, PowerPoint, also very... This hit a lot of the top stuff that I saw on my X feed today. So honestly, anecdotally, it's done a very good job, but that's what it's meant to do. It's meant to pick the best models and do a good job. So that's one example of a workflow, but the world's your oyster. I could put in any workflow like designing thumbnails, writing YouTube descriptions. Sky's the limit. If you can do a task digitally, you can probably do it with AI, or you could at least have some of the research or preliminary work augmented by AI, and Perplexity is a fantastic tool for that. And this launched very recently, by the way, so if you're mind blown or you think that's cool, it's because it's brand new, and it's a tool that has, I think, rendered, honestly, a lot of AI tools redundant. The only downside is it's costly, so I want to talk about the next solution, which can do very similar things. It launched a bit earlier, but it's still amazing, and that is Manus. So Manus is very similar because it also has AI agent architecture that can act on your behalf. So it's not a simple LLM chatbot. It can actually go out, collate research, spin up agents, and automate workflows on your behalf. So I'll show you how it works. With this prompt here, you're my AI research intern. Your job is to generate a concise, high-signal daily intelligence brief. Run this task once per day. So that the cool thing is you can actually automate tasks to happen again and again. So if you want, for example, a stock market brief sent to your inbox every morning based on what has happened overnight, you can set that to happen overnight, and you can get the curated data that you want when you want it. Objective, deliver a 3-minute read that gives me informational leverage without noise. So I enter the prompt on Manus, and it starts thinking. So you can see here, it's scanned the news, then it's composed the daily intelligence brief, and then it's sent it to a persistent daily log file. Now, this is just one simple example, but you can imagine the potential with this. It could go and search real estate listings and compare different properties and give you feedback, and then scan the listings every day to make sure you don't miss something. So if you're on the lookout for a particular property, you can constantly keep updated based on certain criteria. Just imagine the potential of this. I've even seen some people using agents putting in lowball bids and seeing if they could potentially get a deal over time. I mean, property, like many things, is a numbers game. So you can see here it's detailed the top 5 developments and given me my morning brief, which can get sent to me every single morning. And then to give you a bit of an insight as to what it can do, because it's not just text generation, I gave a sample prompt here to research the history of the Eiffel Tower, find an interesting fact, and create a short 3-slide presentation about it, just so you can see its image generation capabilities. So you can see Manus also leverages other models, for example, Nano Banana, which can create images based on your input. So you can see here, it's generating a slideshow based on my prompt. So you could actually ask it, for example, go and design thumbnail ideas for each content idea that you came up with. And you could have that automated. So you could wake up every day, if you're a YouTuber, to a content idea and a full thumbnail idea as well, or multiple ideas. You can see here it's gone and created that slideshow, which I think is pretty cool. So Manus and Perplexity, they are the absolute source. A lot of people are speaking about Claude for good reason. Claude's amazing and I use it a lot. GPT, which I don't really understand beyond its strategic appeal because it is a good strategist. But Perplexity and Manus is absolutely sliding under the radar. And for a lot of the workflows, you are going to be able to use them. There are also other paths that you can go down to automate something, which is why I gave you the automation architect prompt. But the whole point is to actually be aware of what you're doing. So writing it down, then creating and compiling a list, work out what can be automated. If you don't know, ask AI, and then tracking it over time. So this leads me to the end part, to the spreadsheet. By the way, this will be in the description below if you want this for free. I've left it below, where over 1 to 10 weeks, and you can do this for however long you want. I just think that's a nice round number for you guys to go off on your AI journey. Every single week, you could just pick one thing out of your daily, weekly, or monthly task list that you want to automate. Find a solution, log the solution here in the workflow. Then over time, as the workflows improve, you have somewhere to log it and you could change the workflow. It tells you the tool that you need. This also helps you keep track of your subscriptions. Obviously, not all of you are in a position where you can have like 5 AI subscriptions. In that case, maybe you just pick the 1 or 2 that you're using most and use some workarounds for the rest. And then you can try and estimate how much time it's saving you. So this can justify what the highest leverage workflows are. And then you can enter the impact. And you can change the status from false to true as you start completing workflows. So that is the exact process that I would undertake in order to automate workflows in my daily life. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe because this channel is dedicated to giving you the edge in AI, and I'll leave everything down below for free. Have a lovely rest of your day. Peace out.